Colored Folklore. Where does the name come from? What's colored got to do with any of it? What's the difference between folk and lore? Today we attempt to answer some of those questions, yet pose so many more. Here on the Colored Folklore Podcast. Episode 0.1. Podcast Exploration. Colored. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone in between and beyond, welcome to the Colored Folklore Podcast. Though this is our very first episode, it's not actually an episode. This is a little bit of an intro, a little bit of a taste, a bit of a glimpse into the mission of the podcast itself. Which means we're going to start by breaking down our name, as I'm sure you've managed to do in all of your infinite wisdom. I mean, come on. You are the best listener ever. I mean, you did choose to listen to this episode, didn't you? But that is, unless you were forced to listen to the episode and you didn't have a choice in the matter. You know what? I am already way off course. And first and foremost, quick sidebar. I'm very legitimately sorry. I'm probably going to do that a little bit. I tangent a lot when talking just in day-to-day conversations. So now that I have a platform and hopefully still your ears, I'm going to really have to try and find a balance between what I hope is cute and original and relatable and just flat out friggin' annoying. I feel like I may have lost that balance already. So without further ado, Colored Folklore. Call it a portmanteau, call it a hybrid, call it an amalgamated name. Just don't call it late for dinner. Am I right or am I right? Our podcast name, which we're going to split between two episodes. Colored Folklore. Today, we're talking about colored. To jump right in, yes, I am talking about people of color. See, myself, personally, I identify as biracial. I have no problem announcing this or, say, in a more discreet arena listing it on a forum, legal or otherwise. I also understand and respect very much when an individual chooses not to do that. As everyone is very well aware, race is a rather charged topic. Full stop. Not in this day and age, not in this part of the world, wherever that may be, just period. I find myself in a very privileged position. Being biracial, I've been welcomed into so many amazing communities. I've been able to see the world from a multitude of perspectives, and I can see how blessed and diverse things can be and how much fun and just damn incredible it really, really is when they are. However, I've also been out and out not welcomed at all in many communities. And I have been subject to microaggressions, to macroaggressions, and I've had my fair share of dangerous situations simply because of how I look, how I was born. The color of my skin. But this experience is not the experience of others. I know I've had it better than some, and I know that I've had it worse than others. I'm not discounting or taking anything away from anyone else. I'm just sharing what things have been like for me. So, my personal train of thought, the very first thing that I think about when coming to the table for a podcast episode about colored is, well, what does that even mean? What's the current-ish general consensus for colored? Well, I'm so glad you asked. According to the freedictionary.com, the entry for colored from the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, 5th edition, copyright 2016, held and published by Houghton Mifflin Harcourt Publishing Company, published by the same, all rights reserved. That definition is read as follows. Colored, separated, of course, into two syllables. First, cull, and the second, erd. Cull, erd. Cull, I'm going to stop. Phonetically, K, U with a breve over it, L apostrophe. The schwa, or upside down E, R, D. As an adjective, first definition, having color. Of course, something is colored if it possesses a color. Makes sense? Got it. I am on board. Second definition, noted in italics, often offensive. Adjacent to immediately. We're just jumping right into the thick of it. Here we go. Tri-level definition. 2A. Of or belonging to a racial group not categorized as white. 2B. Black or African American. 2C. Of mixed racial descent. Third definition. Colored, however, spelled with U. Quick sidebar. The spelling of certain words changed from the United Kingdom English to the United States English at the actual dawning of the country. It goes all the way back to Webster and him crafting his famous dictionary, wanting to set America apart from England. So if you see color with an O-R, it was probably written by someone from the States. If you see color with an O-U-R, it was probably written by someone from the Commonwealth. Britain, Canada, Australia, South Africa, India, stuff like that. There are other words like this, and despite how nerdy I just made it sound, it really is kind of fun. Look it up. Trust me. Okay, so fun is relative, but trust me, just look it up. Back to the third definition. South African. Of or belonging to a population grouping made up of persons of mixed racial descent, or of certain other non-white descent, especially as distinguished during apartheid from blacks, Asians, or whites. And it just keeps going. Definition 4. Distorted or biased as by irrelevant or incorrect information. Okay, cool. As a noun, plural is colored or coloreds. First definition, now it's not even adjacent, it is right out the gate. In italics, offensive. 1A. A person belonging to a racial group not categorized as white. 1B. A black person, especially an African American. 1C. A person of mixed racial descent. So it's the same. It's the same definition. Speaking of, second noun definition. In italics, South African. A person belonging to the colored population grouping, especially during apartheid. Third definition as a noun. Pieces of laundry that are not light in color. Yep. Same as before, that scans, I get it. I said that myself too. It's, actually, you know what? I'm going to sidebar, but I was trying not to do this, but separate your laundry. Just saying. Oh, and there's also a usage note. Oh, and this is interesting. This is actually longer than both definitions combined. Okay. Usage note. As a racial label, colored can simply mean non-white. But in the United States, it has generally been restricted to persons of African descent. Though once a preferred term among Black Americans, it lost favor as the 20th century progressed, and its use today is usually taken to be offensive. In South Africa, where it is spelled colored, O-U-R, it has generally been used to refer to persons of mixed racial descent as opposed to those of unmixed Black, African, Asian, or European origin. Its use as an official ethnic label ended when apartheid was dismantled in 1991. And then it ends with, see usage note at person of color. That's the definition. Just the true blue word-for-word definition. There's just a lot. Context, for one. Historical context. How can we see colored in regards to a human and not their dirty laundry? If we jump back in time, it was first used mid-19th century. And I believe that was first attributed to the New York Times, although I am sure that in practice it was used all over the place. For instance, as we've heard, it was in use all over the globe to demarcate other. It can be used matter-of-factly in certain regions, whereas it's probably spit in the face of a human being in other regions. With the inception of the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in the United States, it's used in the name. The widely agreed that it is used distinctly to refer to a group of non-white humans, whatever that may be. Trust me, that's a whole other series that so many other podcasts have tackled, and they've done a wonderful job with it. Just check it out. Think about what does white and what does non-white mean? What does it mean to be white? What races are considered white? What are considered white now? What were considered white in the past? So when I say a group of non-whites, whatever that may be, historical context helps you to understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's my episode. I'm sure many of you, if you're still listening, are like, WTF, mate? And I get it. And I'm sorry. It's like colored is this loaded weapon. It's a term. It's this beast that brings with it a lot. So why in all of the name of creation would this dude then name his podcast something only to start off with a rundown of just all of this? It's because the portmanteau, the hybrid, the amalgamation, it spoke to me. When I was developing the podcast all the way back to the beginning, it was named something else. And I was diving into the needs of my avatar and looking at the different marketing possibilities when I realized, this is not the name of the podcast that I'm trying to make. It was then just that kind of talking out loud, not even really about names, just different thoughts kind of free-forming. And when a string of words came out, I just thought, of course, that's the name. Because it spoke to me, just as I'm sure that it did to many of you. However, I want to recognize here and just always, it's not the same experience. My experience, as much as I hope can be shared in times of good and never, ever, 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 ever in times of bad, is unique. Someone can be upset at something just the same that someone can love it forever. And for this nuance, for the experience, I recognize it is what it is to be human. But I want all of you to know, I will try to never rule out another's perspective or their experience. And please, begging you, please, 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 now and forever, tell me, teach me, correct me, help me when I am just wrong, when I say something wrong, when I do something wrong, when something comes across as wrong. Or a perfect example, when I am cracking wise and the situation doesn't call for it. See, I have the horrible tendency to laugh in the face of something terrible. It's how I process trauma and grief, and I'm not hiding behind it at all because, let's be real. This is pre-recorded. I am choosing what hits the airwaves. So this is not giving me a leg to stand on, nor would I want one when I do something or say something during an episode that someone finds offensive. What I can tell you is that I'm not only listening, I hear you. I may not understand. It may take me a second to get to that point of understanding. But please, find it in your heart to help me understand. I want you all to know words matter. Names matter. Stories matter. There's a lot of times and things and just stuff that gets thrown around. They will change meaning. They become something else. And as often as will happen with humanity, something that was once recognized, maybe even by some appreciated or celebrated, whereas by others, tolerated. These things will become something else. Rightfully so, in many, many cases. What I would like to do is invite a number of individuals out there, those that may be used to doing a lot of talking, to just maybe not. Maybe just listen. When you really listen, you pick up on words and you pick up on their context, on emotions and thoughts by someone that's not you. Maybe they don't look like you. Maybe they don't feel like you. Maybe they don't identify the same as you or love the same as you, but they're all like you. We're all like you. We're all human beings. And as human beings, we communicate. A lot of the time, we use words to do that. And when we let our imaginations take flight, we turn those words into stories. Stories that help teach, that help memorialize, that help to entertain. And that's what we're going to do here. Possibly, hopefully, potentially, eventually. How many adverbs can I get in here? My screenwriting professor would be losing his mind right now, rightfully so, which means I'm going to wrap today's pre-episode right on up. Thank you for listening, and I invite you all to listen again. If you'd like to know how to do that or have any other questions that might be buzzing around inside your head, please drop us a line at info@coloredfolklore.com or look us up on any of the socials. The F to the B to the T to the I, that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram with the handle Colored Folklore. And of course, the best way to get at us is to just check out our website. That is www.coloredfolklore.com, where all the aforementioned information is listed out. All our sponsors and shout-outs are on our allies page. All these socials are plastered all over the headers on each and every page, and our contact page allows you to get at us directly. Until next time, it's been real. It's been fun. It has been real fun. And I'm your host, Gree, reminding you, above all, please be kind. Rewind. That's me rewinding.